Assalamualaikum everyone, I am Shafar Zara and I hope you all are fine and safe. Our today's lecture is basically the continuity of our previous lecture that was about the methods to discuss the proteomics. So before we start our today's lecture, let's take a brief overview of the methods that we have discussed in our last lecture. So in last lecture, the first thing that we discussed was the advantages and the technical limitations of the two-dimensional electrophoresis. Then we discussed how the isotope coded affinity tag IC80 is being used in the proteomics. Then we discussed the stable isotope labeling with amino acid in cell culture and how it is being used in characterization of the proteins, and this was basically abbreviated by SILAC. Then 18 oxygen 18 or 18 oxygen stable isotope labeling method was discussed. Lastly, we discussed the isobaric tag for relative and absolute quantitation, and it was denoted by ITRAC, and it was basically if we discuss it, so the advantage of this was that it had the ability to multiply several samples and quantify them and analyze them. So this was all that we have discussed in our previous lecture. In today's lecture, the first methodology that we will be discussing is the large-scale Western blotting proteome analysis. And what happens in this procedure is that a large well is used to separate the sample by page, and page is basically your polyacrylamide gel electrophoresis, and this polyacrylamide gel electrophoresis is a technique that is widely used in biochemistry, forensic chemistry, genetics and molecular biology and biotechnology. And this technique is used to separate biological macromolecules that are usually proteins or the nucleic acid according to their electrophoretic mobility. So this is the page. So a large well is created, and a large well is used to separate a sample by page, and then lanes are created on the membrane that contains the immobilized protein. Then the compatible combinations of primary antibodies are predetermined, and these are predetermined on the criteria of being able to identify proteins that do not comigrate. So basically the criteria here is that you have to identify the proteins that do not co-migrate, and co-migrate means that they do not migrate together. Different combinations of primary antibodies, they are being added to each well, and with appropriate dilution of each primary antibody so that the expressed proteins are detected in a single condition. The scalability of the system, it basically depends on defining suitable combinations of primary antibodies with up to 1000 antibodies in 200 lanes. Means the lanes that you have created, it contains basically 1000 antibodies, and they are being used in the largest screen. Here the word scalability, which I have used, is basically the ability of a computing process to be used or produced in large range of capabilities, and it is basically the capacity to be changed in size or scale. So this is then the detection software is used, and this detection software is used to identify proteins that are based on their unexpected and observed gel mobility. Unlike 2D page and the high performance liquid chromatography and the mass spectrometry is this large scale Western blotting, it basically identifies protein for which antibodies are already available. And this technique, it greatly simplifies the verification and function analysis of proteins that are detected. In addition, this approach is highly flexible, and it can be focused to particular sets of proteins or protein functions such as cell signaling molecules. And here I want to add the point that the foundation of this approach is basically the large amount of data on individual antibodies, and which is already available and categorized in the literature. So only those proteins whose antibodies are already for which the antibodies are already available, only those proteins are identified through this Western blotting proteome analysis. So this was the entire methodology how the large scale Western blotting proteome analysis takes place. Your next methodology is the multidimensional protein identification technology, and it is another approach to analyze proteomes without gels, and it is basically the shotgun analysis that using MUDPIT is the multidimensional protein identification technology. So what is this shotgun analysis? This shotgun is basically shotgun proteomics. It basically refers to the use of bottom-up proteomics techniques and that are used to study the whole proteins in a complex mixture such as serum, urine and cell lysates. And this shotgun proteomics is basically utilizes the technology of high performance liquid chromatography, that is your HPLC, in combination with the mass spectrometry technology. So this is the shotgun analysis. In the multidimensional protein identification technology approach, protein samples, they are subject to sequence-specific enzymatic digestion, usually with trypsin and endoproteinase, that is LYSC, lysine C, and the resultant peptide mixture that are formed, they are separated by a strong cation exchange, and this strong cation exchange is denoted by SCS, and reverse phase high performance liquid chromatography, that is your HPLC. The peptides from the RP column, RP was basically your reverse phase column, they enter the mass spectrometer, and the MS data is used, mass spectrometry data is used to search the protein database. And this multidimensional protein identification technology, it generates an exhaustive list of proteins and that are present in a particular protein sample. And this method is advantageous because it is fast and sensitive with good reproducibility. However, one thing it lacks, and it basically is that it lacks the ability to provide quantitative information. So this is one of the drawback of this method. A combination of HPLC, liquid phase isoelectric focusing and capillary electrophoresis, all these three and their combination provide other multi-modular options for the separation of complex mixtures. So this was the multidimensional protein identification technology. The next technology that we will be discussing in today's lecture is the protein microarray technology. This protein microarrays, they are also known as protein chips, and they are miniaturized and parallel assay systems that contain small amount of purified proteins in a high density format. These protein microarrays, they allow simultaneous determination of a great variety of analytes from small amount of samples within a single experiment. Protein microarrays, they are typically prepared by immobilizing proteins onto a microscope slide using a standard contact spotter or non-contact microarrayer. A variety of surface slides, they can be used for this purpose, and the popular types includes aldehyde and epoxy derivatized glass surfaces for random attachment through amines, nitrocellulose or gel coated slides, and nickel coated slides for affinity attachment of His6 tag protein. So these are the slides on which the surfaces that can be used for this purpose. So this His6, this last type that we have discussed, it was reported to provide 10-fold better signals than those obtained with the other random attachment methods. After the proteins are immobilized on the slides, they can be probed for a variety of functions or the activities. Finally, what happens in this technique is that the resulting signals that are generated, they are usually measured by determining fluorescent on radioisotopes, or either you will determine the fluorescent or by detecting fluorescent or by detecting the radioisotope labels. So this is how protein microarray technology works. Moreover, high throughput production of human proteins using different methods is being developed to make protein array approach more practical, and recently simple and efficient production of human proteins using the versatile gateway vector system, it has been developed. And what happens in this approach is that the protein expression system, it is applied to the in vitro expression of 13,364 human proteins, and their biological activities in two functional categories were assessed, and as a result a human protein factory was developed. And this human protein factory is basically the infrastructure which includes the resources and the expression technology for in vitro proteome research. In another approach, DNA array to protein array, DNA array to protein array is abbreviated as DAPA. It is utilized, this DAPA, DNA array to protein array is utilized, which allows the printing of replicate protein arrays directly from a DNA array template using cell-free protein synthesis. Then another program is available, and this is based on the nucleic acid programmable protein array, and it is abbreviated as NAPPA concept, and it is basically the high density self-assembling protein microarray is developed as a result of this program, and it is developed to display thousands of proteins that are produced and captured in situ from immobilized complementary DNA templates. So what happened as a result of this method is that this method will enable various experimental approaches to study protein function in high throughput. And the advantage of the protein based microarrays basically allows the global observation of biochemical activities on an unprecedented scale, where hundreds or thousands of proteins they can be simultaneously screened for the protein or the protein nucleic acid or the protein or small molecule interaction, as well as the post transcriptional changes or modifications. Currently, two classes of protein microarrays are available, that is analytical and functional protein microarray. Analytical protein microarray, they are mostly antibody microarrays, and they have become one of the most powerful multiplex detection technology. Whereas the functional protein microarrays, they are being increasingly applied to many areas of biological discovery, including studies of protein interaction, biochemical activity, and immune responses. Recently, great progress has been achieved in both the classes of the protein microarrays in terms of sensitivity, specificity, and expanded application. Here you can see that how the microarray image is being seen, and this microarray image, the big one is not clear to you because basically it is the reddish and the black in color, but the small one you can see that black and reddish. So this one block you can see from that big one. The microarray format, it basically provides a robust and the convenient platform for the simultaneous analysis of thousands of individual protein samples, and what it do is that it facilitates the design of sophisticated and reproducible biochemical experiments under highly specific conditions. However, there are some of the principal challenges in the protein array development, and these challenges are threefold. The first challenge is that creation of comprehensive expression clone library. The number two is that high throughput protein production, including expression, isolation, and purification. Number three is the adaptation of DNA microarray technology, and why this adaptation is needed is because it is needed to accommodate protein substrate. Then you have functional protein microarrays. Functional protein microarrays, they differ from analytical arrays in that the functional protein arrays, they are composed of arrays containing full length functional proteins or the protein domains. These protein chips, they are used to study the biochemical activities of an entire proteome in a single experiment, and they are used to study numerous protein interactions such as protein-protein, protein-DNA interaction, protein-RNA interaction, protein phospholipid interaction, and protein small molecule interactions. Now the companies have introduced protein arrays that aim not only at proteomic analysis but also functional analysis of proteins. And then you have affinity proteomics, and this affinity proteomics, it basically aim to produce antibodies to every protein that is expressed by the human genome, and these will be categorized against purified antigens and tested on tissue arrays to collect information about the specificity for tissue antigens. Currently, companies, they are focused to produce various binding partners, for example, Fe bodies, monoclonal antibodies, and their fragments. Protein chips, what they will do is that they will likely to be the next major manifestation of the revolution in the proteomics. And these protein chips basically offer another solution to analyze low abundant proteins, and they have the potential for high throughput application to identify biomarkers. And if I summarize here that what is this protein microarray, so protein microarray is basically a high throughput method that is used to track the interaction and the activities of proteins and to determine their function and determining the function on a large scale. And its main advantage is that it basically lies in the fact that large number of proteins, they can be tracked in the parallel, means they can be tracked simultaneously, large number of proteins. So this is how this protein, or you can say this protein microarray and technology is being useful. So here you can see the applications of functional protein microarrays and the tissue arrays that we have discussed in detail. Then you have antibody microarray, the development and the application of high throughput multiplex immunoassays that measure hundreds of non-proteins in a complex biological matrix is becoming a significant tool for quantitative proteomic studies. And moreover, along with quantitative proteomic studies, it also becoming a significant tool in diagnostic discovery and the biomarker assisted drug development. There are two broad categories of antibody microarray experimental formats, and the first one is direct labeling. In direct labeling method, what happens is that all proteins in a complex mixture, they are tagged, providing a mean for detecting bound proteins. And after that, incubation is done, and this incubation on an antibody microarray is being carried out. Then there is sandwich immunoassay. In the sandwich immunoassay format, proteins are captured on an antibody microarray. They are detected by a cocktail of detection antibodies. Each antibody matched to one of the spotted antibodies. In addition, a variety of microarray substrates, they have been described, including, and these substrates basically include nylon membranes, plastic microwells, planar glass slides, gel-based arrays, and beads in the suspension array. So these are the microarray substrates that are being used. Much effort has been expended in optimizing antibody attachment to the microarray substrate, and finally various signal generation and signal enhancement strategies have been employed in antibody arrays, including colorimetry, radioactivity, fluorescence, chemiluminescence, quantum dots, and other nanoparticles, enzyme-linked assays, resonance light scattering, tyramide signal amplification, and rolling circle amplification. You must have listened the names of all these techniques, and each of these formats and procedures, they have distinct advantages and disadvantages relating to broadly to these advantages and disadvantages. They broadly relates to the sensitivity, number 1, number 2 specificity, number 3 dynamic range, number 4 multiplexing capability, number 5 precision, number 6 throughput, and lastly the ease of use. So this was how this antibody microarray is being revolutionized and is being used, and the advancements that are being made in this. The last method that we will be discussing today is the mass spectrometry. So regardless of the choice of a given proteomic separation technique, gel-based or gel-free, a mass spectrometer is always the primary tool for protein identification. So it is the first point, that this mass spectrometer is the primary tool for the protein identification. During the last decades, significant improvements have been made in the application of the mass spectrometry for the determination of protein sequences. This mass spectrometers, they consist of an ion source, number 1, the mass analyzer, and this was the number 2, and number 3, an ion detection system. Analysis of the proteins by MS occurs in 3 major steps, and these major steps are: number 1 is protein ionization and generation of gas phase ions, number 2 is separation of ions according to their mass to charge ratio, and number 3 is detection of ions. So this is how this mass spectrometer, it basically analyzes the proteins in 3 major steps. In gel-free approaches such as IC80 and MUD PIT, that was your multidimensional protein identification technology, Samples are directly analyzed by mass spectrometry, whereas in gel-based proteomics, that is your 2DE and 2D-IgE, the protein spots, they are first excised from the gel and they are then digested with trypsin. The resulting peptides, they are then separated by liquid chromatography or directly analyzed by mass spectrometry. The experimentally derived peptides masses, they are correlated with the peptide fingerprints of non-proteins in the databases using search engines, and these search engines are basically Mascot, Quest, and these are the basically search engines. There are two main ionization sources which include matrix assisted laser desorption or ionization, and it is basically abbreviated by MALDI. And the second source, ionization source, is electrospray ionization, that is denoted by ESI. And then there are four major mass analyzers, which are time of flight, number 1, number 2, ion trap, quadrupole, number 3. Number 2 was ion trap, number 3 was your quadrupole, and number 4 is Fourier transform ion cyclotron, that is denoted abbreviated by FTIC, and these are currently used for protein identification and characterization. A combination of mass analyzers in tandem, such as quadrupole TOF, that was time of flight, and quadrupole ion trap, has combined the individual strengths of different types of mass analyzers, and as a result of this combination, it has greatly improved their capabilities for proteome analysis. Simple mass spectrometers such as MALDI and MALDI TOF, that was your basically MALDI was your that were matrix assisted laser desorption or ionization, and TOF was basically your time of flight. So this mass spectrometer, they are used for only measurements of mass, whereas tandem mass spectrometer, they are used for the amino acid sequence determination. And in MALDI, the sample of interest, it is crystallized with the matrix on a metal surface, and laser ion source causes excitation of matrix along with the analyte ions, and these analyte ions are then released into the gas phase. And this MALDI, it basically this MALDI was basically your mass assisted laser ionization or desorption. And this MALDI, what it do is that it basically measures the mass of peptides derived from trypsinized parent protein, and it generates a list of experimental peptide masses that often refer to mass fingerprints. So this was the entire process of the mass spectrometry and how it is being used in the proteomics, and you have seen that what advances are being made in this technique. I hope that the methods that we have discussed up till now, and in this lecture and the previous lecture that we have discussed, you have understood so far. And if you want to study these methods in detail in the written form, then you can visit this site. Thank you for watching. Allah Hafiz.